Janice, roll call, please.
Certainly. City of Banning. City of Calamasa. I'm sorry, City of Calamasa, was that?
Here.
Thank you.
I
City
guess
of
we're gonna have to
Canyon
do
Lake.
more of that button training.
City of Corona.
Here.
City of Eastvale.
Here.
City of Hemet. Here. City of Urupa Valley.
Here.
City of Lake Elsinore. City of Menifee. City of Moreno Valley.
Here.
City of Murrieta. City of Norco.
Yes.
City of Paris. City of Riverside. City of San Jacinto.
Here.
City of Temecula.
Here.
City of Wildomore. County of Riverside District 1. County of Riverside District 2. County of Riverside District 3.
Here.
Thank you, sir. County of Riverside District 5. Present. Eastern Municipal Water District.
Here.
Western Municipal Water District. Morongo Band of Mission Indians. WRCOG TAC Chair. Riverside County Superintendent of Schools. That concludes roll call, and we do have quorum.
Thank you. We're 2 minutes into this, and I think we've lost control already. Okay. All right. Next, I'd like to welcome our newest member to our executive committee, Mark Bartell from the City of San Jacinto. All right. Next, we have public comments. I have one speaker slip. Arnold, if you come on up. Your microphones.
Is that good? Oh, good. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the executive. Just wanted to brief. There's a big flyer on your handed out. I was at the Imperial County Transportation Commission meeting last Wednesday, and the Deputy Director of Caltrans District in San Diego handed this out. So I just thought I'd bring this to your attention in case you had not seen it. It's not going to be video conferencing in the different sites, but so you have to go to downtown Los Angeles or all the other sites throughout the state of California. But it's going to be a very everybody's going to be engaged in discussion and dialogue in this process. And just one last note, today is the last day to give official comments on the draft regional transportation plan. You can still submit comments afterwards, and I do have a few extra copies of the executive summary in case you want a copy, and I'll be around afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other requests to speak?
I have no further requests.
Okay, next we have our consent calendar, items 6A through K. Are there any requests to speak on any of the items? None? I'll bring it to the...
Move the consent.
Who made the motion to move? I didn't.
That was Temecula down here.
Thank
And
you,
Hemet
Temecula.
down here.
And
Hemet.
And a second by Hemet. Please vote.
City of Calamasa, please vote. Thank you, sir.
Do we have the two new guys together? Janice? All right, that motion passes 21-0. All right, next we have item 7A, the HERO Program Activities Update. Barbara.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. I'm Barbara Spoonhour, the Director of Energy and Environmental Programs. The HERO program provides financing for residential and commercial property owners for energy-efficient water conservation and renewable energy projects. That financing is then added to that property owner's property tax bill and repaid over a number of years. I do have one correction to my staff report, and that is to add the City of Santa Clara as being accepted by the committee as an associate member to WRCOG. They took action after our agenda was released. After today's action of holding a public hearing, accepting the updated program report, and accepting new associate members, there will be 295 jurisdictions participating in the California HERO program. I wanted to provide you with a brief overview of the activities that have been occurring with the HERO program. From January 2012 through January, January 27th, there have been nearly over 28,500 applications in the WRCOG subregion approved alone, with over 17,600 projects being completed for over $336 million approved and paid out in funding. This equates to annual numbers of 583 million in economic impact, over 2,860 jobs, over 38,624 tons of greenhouse gas emissions reduced, and over 145 gigawatt hours of energy saved annually. As part of the program update, an updated Exhibit B to the California HERO Program Report has been included as an attachment for the staff report. This map includes the jurisdictions that will be included in today's public hearing. These include the cities of Brisbane, Greenfield, the counties of Butte and Kings County unincorporated areas. Once the public hearing is concluded, I'm asking that the Executive Committee adopt Resolution 03-16, formalizing these jurisdictions into the HERO program. I'm also asking that the public hearing for the cities of Dos Palos and Gustine be continued until March 7, 2016. I will also be asking the committee to accept the following cities as associate members to the WRCOG. This includes the cities of Kings City, Sacramento, Santa Clara, the town of Atherton, the town of Colma, and the county of San Joaquin unincorporated area. After the acceptance of the aforementioned cities and counties, I am then asking the Executive Committee to adopt Resolution 04-16 and setting the public hearing for these jurisdictions for March 7, 2016. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chair, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Sorry, I guess I'm having button problems now. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there any request to speak on this public hearing? Do we have anyone on the phone?
Do we have any callers online for the California HERO program? I hear none.
Okay, at this time, I will close the public hearing and bring it up to the dais for a motion, comments, questions, good looks. Motion by Woodamar, second by Banning. Please vote. And that motion passes 21-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item, 7B, is report from the League of Cities. Aaron Sassy.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today. It's been a while, so it's nice to see all your happy faces. As you know, the governor did release his budget. Nothing real detrimental in the budget this year. Definitely nothing that is really exciting either. It's just kind of a neutral budget. There is a $6 billion surplus that he wants to put into mostly the rainy day reserve funds. There was some money for local government through some of the law enforcement grants. There are some strings tied to that funding. He's allocating a lot of the water bond money. There's about $80 million going to the Salton Sea restoration. There's also some grant opportunities available for cities. I know I've sent out a lot of information on that, so I don't want to take your time up too much. There are a couple bills I would like to highlight. One of them I want to get on your radar is SB 897. This was introduced by Senator Roth. This bill was introduced 2 years ago, made it through the legislature, and was vetoed by the governor. Basically what it does is with your law enforcement, they currently get a year of full pay for workers' comp issues. This bill would extend that year timeline to 2 years. So this bill could be incredibly costly for your cities. Definitely want to make sure you're watching this. It's still very early on in the process, but it's difficult to stop a bill like this in the legislature. So we don't want to also count on the governor vetoing it. We suspect that he will, but definitely no guarantees. So you should all be weighing in on this bill, SB 897. Another Senator Roth bill that was introduced is SB 817. This is the new version of SB 25 from last year. This would provide funding for our 4 new cities. At this point, I know Senator Roth has it as a spot bill. Definitely think it's something that would get through the legislature, but would likely be vetoed by the governor. So just keep that on your radars. There was $750 million cut to the STIP funds, transportation. The CTC came out with this just in the last week. Definitely concerning. There's several projects within our county that would not be funded because of this cut. I think this just shows that we still need transportation funding. This is just an increasing problem, so I want to encourage everybody just to continue to push your legislators to support some sort of transportation funding package, because the problem's only going to continue getting worse. And these were big projects that will no longer go forward. One other bill, AB 21, this bill was passed by both houses of the legislature. It is on the governor's desk. This bill removes the March 1st deadline for the medical marijuana cultivation ordinances. So for those of you that haven't passed an ordinance on cultivation, it would give you a little bit more time. Like I said, it removes that March 1st deadline. For those of you that already have it, still something that we should definitely encourage the governor to support. And we don't see it being a problem, but it is on his desk and hopefully will be signed this week. Just a couple other updates for those of you that had members attending our new mayors and council members conference a couple weeks ago in Sacramento. We did release some information. The league is working to create a healthcare exchange. It's definitely something that's still in the works, so information is limited at this point, but we're hoping to be able to roll something out later this year. This should help you significantly reduce some of your retiree benefit costs, including some of your current employee costs for healthcare. It would provide more options. You could work with us just to have, like I said, more options for your cities in terms of what you can provide for healthcare. It's almost like an a la carte type system. So stay tuned for more information on that, but it's definitely something that we're very excited about. March 18th is our next breakfast with all of our mayors countywide. So for those of you mayors, just make sure you put that on your calendar. It'll be at Tukwut and Banning. And then also something that our division is working to put on is in March, we'd like to do a Lobby 101 seminar. It would be open to all of our cities, just basically covering the basics of how a bill becomes a law, the process, some of the rules, how to be more effective in your lobbying efforts. So as soon as we get all of that figured out and set up, I'll make sure that you're aware of it. But something we're excited about doing here in our division. And then just one other announcement, we have a vacancy on our division spots for the Employee Relations Policy Committee. So if any of you are interested in serving on the statewide policy committee with employee relations, please let me know, because like I said, we do have a spot available. With that, be happy to take any questions, but thanks for having me today.
Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have our transportation activities update, and this will be given by Christopher Gray.
Good afternoon. I'm Chris Gray, the Director of Transportation. I was here at your first meeting. I've now been on the job for a whole month, and I'm still here. So I wanted to come out and brief you on the activities in the Transportation Department and talk about some of our forthcoming initiatives. So with that, I want to just briefly introduce myself. I spent 20 years as a transportation consultant, and then Rick and Ruth Ann convinced me I need to come work for WRCOG, and I did. So I'll be overseeing all the transportation-related activities, which is going to include the TUV program, the Active Transportation Program, the Clean Cities, and a few other efforts. So let me just run through briefly what we're going to be going on. First of all, the Nexus Study Update. As some of you are aware, we are going through our Nexus Study Update. Many of you have seen the reports, the various draft exhibits. We are in the process of doing some, essentially folding in some forecast data we received from SCAG. We anticipate bringing a new Nexus study, an updated Nexus study to you folks roughly in the summer, late summer, early fall. Concurrent with that, and something that we're kicking off in the next couple of weeks, is the comprehensive analysis of fees. We're looking for, just as really as an informational item, bringing back to you a summary of all the fees that are charged on new development throughout the region. We've selected a consultant, and we'll be bringing a contract to the Admin and Finance Committee in a couple of weeks to get them kicked off on that effort. And we're looking forward to working with all of your staff on that project. We have a couple of publications on the TUMF, which we're going to be bringing back to you. One is our annual report. We produce an annual report on all the activities which occurred through the TUMP through 2015, and draft of that and is complete, and staff is just reviewing that. A new document is called 85 Projects and Counting. It's a list of every project that the TUMP has ever paid for, down from transit station improvements to some of the big interchanges we paid for. So we're bringing that forward at your next meeting. On a non-TUMP note, we're also kicking off our Regional Active Transportation Plan. This is a project that was funded by Caltrans. Those who aren't familiar with the term active transportation is simply walking and biking. If it's not in a car and it's not on a bus, it's active transportation. So the focus of this plan is to look at regional trails and facilities that we can use to bring the cities together. We anticipate it'll take about 18 months to complete the study. Kickoff is this week, and we'll be bringing portions of the study back to committees like the Public Works and the Planning Directors throughout the year. We have, at the end of last year, WRCOG completed what we're calling the Water Quality Framework Study. The genesis of this study, and it is also a project funded through a grant, was to look at different approaches to treating water quality on site. One of the issues we've noted and have been told and have heard about is there's some changes in the stormwater treatment requirements, and so there's a need to look at potentially a new framework. We'll be bringing this report to the Public Works and the Planning Directors Committee in the middle of February, and provide you with a summary in early March. And at this point, we've simply completed what I would call a feasibility study. And once the feasibility study is complete, staff will be looking at what our options are if we wanted to do a more formalized regional program, or simply not move forward on that. And then one of our outreach efforts, I have been going around and meeting with each of your staffs. I've been traveling. I'll be traveling over the next month. I have, over the past month, traveled to a number of the cities. I've been out to Banning, I've been out to Wildemar, I've been out to Marietta, Menifee, and Lake Elsinore, and I'm doing meet and greets with all of your city staff members, generally your city manager or her designee, your Public Works Director, and your Planning Director. And I'm going out there to talk about what the Transportation Department is doing and find out what WRCOG can do to serve your cities better. And I'll tell you, some of the feedback I've got is people said, we really want to learn more about the TUMP. We need us to help you. We need to understand it better. And so over the next 2 months, staff will be meeting with every jurisdiction that wants a workshop, and we'll be holding a staff-only workshop in your city at the time and place of their choosing and convenience to talk to them about the TUMP. And the idea is to really explain how TUMP is calculated, how TUMP works, how to get projects, how to get paid for them, and how to move things forward. So this is one of the items of feedback we heard was people want us to do a little bit better job of explaining the program to them. The program's been around for 12 years, and there's very few people that have been around since the beginning of the program. So our first workshop will be in Banning. That will be roughly in about 2 weeks, and I anticipate holding those over the course of the next, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks after that as staff is available. And then finally, another one of our efforts that we're folding under the transportation umbrella is the Clean Cities. The Clean Cities program is a federal program that is looking to improve regional air quality through efforts at the local level, and it deals with things like alternative fueled vehicles, electric vehicle charging, and other ways that we can improve regional air quality. The funding comes from the Department of Energy to WRCOG, and it is then used for a variety of, for example, educational facilities. The Advancing the Choice Expo is something that we hold on an annual basis. And so this effort's primarily doing outreach and helping cities do, many of which you do this work already. And so with that, I'm just wanted to give you an update on what we're doing, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Are there any questions? Yep, Supervisor Washington.
On your active transportation plan, and you said you'd be setting up meetings with willing participants to discuss how to go about creating a plan?
No, we'll be, we know what the plan, or sorry, we're getting started on the plan, and as part of doing the plan, we're going to be outreaching with all the cities in the WRCOG region to talk about their needs and how the plan could reach those. We'll be meeting with cities individually and also working through the planning directors and the public works directors' task.
So for us supervisors that have a district that encompasses unincorporated and incorporated areas,
right,
how can we work to create a plan or a component of this plan that bridges most of a district?
Sure. So part of what we'll be doing is also reaching out to the county transportation department. Your public health department is very active on the active transportation side, and your parks department is very active as well. So, for example, we are looking into, for example, regional trails that might connect part of the county down to Wildemar through, for example, the city of Murrieta down to some of the trails through the city. So our idea is these studies typically go one of two ways. Either they draw a bunch of lines on the map and they tell cities to go out and build a bunch of bike lanes and nothing ever gets done. Or you focus on what are regional issues. And so our approach is we're going to focus instead on some of those regional trails that connect the various cities to each other. And the idea is that, and our vision for the project is we would give the various jurisdictions all the information you would need to go to get a grant from the state. So, for example, we give the county transportation department all the information it would need for a trail to then go to the state and receive money from the state for that trail.
So much like, we have dialogue, we've had for many years dialogue about our road networks and our freeways connecting and how important it is for us to work, in this case, with adjacent counties. Very similarly, I think it would behoove us to work with unincorporated and incorporated areas so we make sure that there's connectivity within the plan. So when I hear you talking about the county, you're talking about the county parks or county transportation, that's well and good, but if in an unincorporated area we create a plan and it doesn't line up with what the cities are doing,
Sure.
Then we waste a lot of time and money where I think we can leverage better plans if those things are coordinated.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. And part of our observation is that Riverside County, both the incorporated and unincorporated areas, have this beginning of a very nice trail network. But when you talk to people who use it, they find, oh, I would love to go down this trail, but it stops. Or this trail stops at this city, and then I have to take a street, and then I'm just not going to use it. So that these gaps in the trail network are something that we're very mindful of, and we're going to work closely with.
And we're already talking about that. We've already had that dialogue
Right.
in several of my cities.
Yeah.
And I hear that. That's feedback I get, that people are saying, well, this would be great if I could go from this point all the way to this point. And along the way, maybe in the 3rd District, you go by Diamond Valley Lake,
Right.
and you want to get on, the trail that goes around the lake. There should be, at least if there's not a funding source, there should at least be the planning effort put forth so that we begin to leverage the resources we do have and achieve that connectivity.
Yeah, and that's something actually I heard in my meeting with the city of Wildemar, was wanting to get better connected to Diamond Valley Lake. So we're already hearing that, and we're mindful of that.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right, this is receive and file. Thank you, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. And you pushed your button, too.
Yeah. Well, and that said, you have the trails from Idlewild, well, actually from the Palm Desert, Idlewild. Don't forget about the San Jacinto Valley.
Sure.
As that other connection, because we seem to get lost in the shuffle an awful lot of times. So if you'll keep that in mind, we'd certainly appreciate it.
I will make sure you don't get lost in the shuffle.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next we have item 7D, Fellowship Program Proposal for the Western Riverside County. Jennifer Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, members of the committee. I'm excited to present this item to you today, which represents a new venture for WRCOG, kind of in our collective efforts to address some quality of life issues here in Western Riverside County. So we're all aware that Riverside County experiences a problem of brain drain. We have a very robust K-12 and higher education system here in Western Riverside County, but we often see that students graduating from those programs either cannot find full-time employment here in the region, or they're more interested in full-time employment both in the public and private sector outside of our region. Coupled with that, there is a lack of interest from these students in a career in government. whether it's local government, the federal government. National statistics support this, and it's something we hear from the cities as well. So boil all that down, a solution to this problem is trying to retain those local students in Western Riverside County to kind of fulfill our need for that robust public sector workforce. WRCOG's been in some preliminary discussions with UCR and Cal Baptist University, as well as with our Admin and Finance Committee and the Technical Advisory Committee, and based on kind of this ongoing discussion, we think there's a way that WRCOG can play a role in facilitating that robust public sector workforce. So first, we need to capitalize on that local talent that's leaving our institutions of higher education, as well as our colleges and our vocational institutions, and then partner with those agencies to figure out what the supply is coming from the education system and match that with the needs of the workforce, the public sector workforce. In these discussions, the idea of a fellowship has kind of emerged as a way for WRCOG to address those issues. Our overall goals for this fellowship are to address those issues I just talked about, but to really grow this fellowship into something prestigious that would attract qualified candidates from the universities, from the school system, and then almost create a pipeline to funnel that talent into our local public sector jobs. This would be, of mutual benefit to the member agencies, being able to utilize local students in a high caliber way, plugging them into essentially full-time work within your agency, but at a discounted rate. And then ultimately, if this program is to be successful and to grow, it could just contribute to an overall desire for young people here in Western Riverside County to want to stay and look for a job here and buy a house, raise a family, and kind of create that ongoing cycle. We have identified about $300,000 for a pilot year program through WRCOG, and these come from carryover funds that have not been allocated yet by the Executive Committee. So the requested action today is to use this $300,000 to create a one-year pilot program for a WRCOG fellowship program. And this cost would primarily cover a very small percentage of administration costs, but primarily would serve to provide very competitive stipends for these fellows. Again, creating a way for us to attract high-quality candidates that could then be placed in your jurisdictions to serve as staff, and taking the burden off the jurisdiction to have to cover that cost, but also making an attractive option for a graduating student. This funding, we imagine, would cover about 10 to 12 fellows for this pilot year, and then hopefully, we'd be able to cover all the agencies in the future if the program were to grow. As I mentioned, we're working with UCR and CBU, and of course, you all, the member agencies, are the key partner in this potential fellowship. The potential structure of a fellowship, WRCOG would serve as the administrator. We'd kind of facilitate the matching of the students coming from the universities with the needs of the local jurisdiction. So UCR, CBU would work to present us a kind of a streamlined pool of candidates that would fit the needs of each of your jurisdictions, and WRCOG would then survey, likely through the city manager's office, survey the cities and the county and the agencies to find out what type of student, whether it's engineering or economics or public policy, what type of student you think would best fit your current needs. And then through that matching process, we'd be able to make a recommendation of placements, and they would be placed for approximately 1 year in the agency. So really what we're looking for from the member agencies is feedback on the idea in general, this proposed structure. We've received a lot of great feedback already from the city managers. I'm aware that there's a lot of other internship programs within the region, so we're trying to learn from those and build on that framework. Based on the feedback and the action today, we could pursue a pretty aggressive timeline, working with UCR and CBU to actually announce this fellowship opportunity to the student body in the next couple months, review applications that come in from the students, and then by the summer, make actual recommendations and placements to the member agencies. So that is an overall picture of what the program would look like, and our requested action is to authorize the allocation of $300,000 for the development of this program. And that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jennifer. And this went before the TAC, so I'd like to hear from our TAC chair on this, who happens to be the best city manager in the entire County of Riverside from the city of Lake Elsinore. I'm just saying, folks, it is what it is. Just saying. I'm sorry.
Yeah, here goes. We spent a lot of time at the city manager talking about this type of a program, and one of the biggest challenges we have as city managers is to bring in the best and the brightest and make sure that they get excited about a career in public service like we all are. And so wholeheartedly supported the program. We basically gave some additional information on other programs that are in place. A lot of our cities do have internship programs, but the concept of this being a prestigious fellowship is really important, and it really takes us to the next level as a region. And so I think it's great, and city managers also thought it was great.
Okay. Supervisor Jeffries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had the benefit of the fellowship program when I was in the state capitol, and extreme high demand for those students. Incredible, but it did require a lot of administrative oversight. It was pretty labor intensive for a handful of staffers to keep track of everybody in the building, whether they were working for legislators or policy committees. So it's a wonderful program. It gives young men and women incredible access to policy making at the state level. And unfortunately, a lot of them went on to be very successful lobbyists. So making a lot more money than the legislators they were working for. So I think it's great. I'd really support it. Good luck.
Thank you. Fortunately, UCR and CBU are both very enthusiastic about this program and willing to support us significantly in that admin role.
If I may ask, there'll have to be employees, classified as employees of somebody. Who will that be?
So we're currently kind of working through that structure of the program in conversations with UCR, with CBU, and with WRCOG's legal counsel. We definitely do not want to place that responsibility on the local agencies, having them have to go through all the employment steps of local agencies. So we're kind of navigating the hour limits, not wanting to trigger the necessary benefits provision. So we're kind of navigating that right now, and we will definitely propose a finalized version of the program prior to moving that forward, because I know that affects everyone.
Grant, did you, when you discussed this in the TAC, did you talk about managing the folks and time and stuff like that?
We talked a little bit about that, and depending upon the number of students, we also talked about sharing students between different agencies and making sure we can spread the wealth, so to speak. And so a lot of when they come into your agency, it would be your responsibility, as Supervisor Jeffrey said. It takes a lot of effort, so you need to make sure that you have somebody who can help usher that person through and make it a meaningful experience. But I think that we all have done that enough, and most of us that started as interns in some way, shape, or form, so we understand what it takes to and what the benefits could be and how to help. And so there's enough communication with the city managers on a regular basis to ensure that we're in a pretty good spot as we move forward with the program.
And Jennifer, you were an intern, weren't you?
I was.
So I want one just like you for Lake Elsinore.
And I'm still here.
Is that too much of a request?
Noted.
Okay.
And our goal is for these fellows to ultimately fellowships to turn into a full-time job with the city or the county or the agency, not a lobbyist firm. So we'll work on that.
I'll entertain a motion, please. A motion by Bannon, second by the Water District. Brenda? Please vote. Oops, we have a couple more people want to speak. Just, sorry, they're a little fast on me. Supervisor Jeffrey, did you? You left over? Okay. Supervisor Washington.
That's all right. He represents us both.
So you don't want to talk? Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. That motion passes 22-0. Okay. All right. Our next item, 7E, is the Regional Streetlight Program Activities Update. Tyler Masters.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And good afternoon, Executive Committee members. My name is Tyler Masters. I'm Program Manager here at WRCOG, and I'm here today to provide you an update on the Regional Streetlight Program and Activities Update. The Regional Streetlight Program is a program designed to reduce jurisdictions' utility cost through the acquisition and retrofit of SCE-owned streetlights. So I'll go over the program overview a little bit. During the last few years, multiple jurisdiction city staff have come to WRCOG as they've begun to identify this large line item on their annual bill, and that line item goes to energy and more specifically SCE-owned streetlights. So after this initial identification, jurisdictional staff have asked WRCOG staff to look into opportunities to mitigate this cost. After some assessment, WRCOG staff had identified there's about 63,000 SE-owned streetlights in our subregion, and this accounts for about over a $10 million annual cost. And I want to note as well, after a deeper dive, SCE-owned streetlight rate has increased about 55% since 2001. So given this information, the WRCOG Executive Committee in 2014 directed staff to look into the feasibility of developing and administering a regional program to look into mitigating and lessening this cost through acquisition and LED or energy efficient retrofits. So there are a lot of goals and economies of scale that can be met with a regional program like this. Like the HERO program, one regional program versus multiple separate but similar programs would increase administrative, operations, and maintenance cost efficiencies and economies of scale at a lot of these levels. Each jurisdiction would see a reduction in their utility bill costs through the acquisition of these streetlights, a reduction in their energy consumption costs upon LED or energy efficient retrofit, and reduction in overall maintenance costs. LEDs they have a longer lifespan. And also with this new wave of technologies, energy efficient technologies specifically, there's an improvement in light quality, an improvement then that translates into public safety. And this program, I'd like to also mention, accounts for Mount Palomar. I understand that over half of our subregion is in the shadow of Mount Palomar. So we're looking to account for some of those lighting design standards, dark sky requirements, and all of your specific community needs. Finally, this program will assist cities meeting their local and statewide energy and greenhouse gas goals, to name one of a few, AB 32. But I would like to mention that streetlights aren't simply a utility cost. They can be seen as a revenue generator, a piece of real estate, and upon ownership of these streetlights, the city has the ability to do a wide array, to use them for a wide array of different capabilities. Adding banners on some of these streetlights to promote community activities, dimmable technologies to better control the light output of these streetlights, other third-party attachments to increase revenue. I know some telecommunications companies have begun to talk with your city staff on some of those opportunities, as well as various attachments to kind of pave the way and create that smart city infrastructure of the future. So going over the current status, right now there are about 16 WRCOG jurisdictions and agencies that are in the SCE initial evaluation process. What this initial evaluation process is Southern California Edison SCE's process that allows them to assess your jurisdiction streetlight inventory and generate an estimated system sales price. So currently 11 jurisdictions have received that valuation report, that sales price, and then the remaining 5 are just right behind. We're looking to initiate and complete that process in the next month or so. I'd also like to mention that this estimated sales price is information only. It's not a binding in its process right now. It allows city staff to really begin assessing the feasibility of moving forward. And to support each of your jurisdictions with that moving forward, WRCOG and its consultant team has developed a feasibility study that accounts for a wide range of sensitivities or variabilities. One is where we've included into that tool, that feasibility tool, the acquisition costs. Once we receive that, we plug that in. The retrofit, LED retrofit costs, we plug that in, always accounting for ongoing operations and maintenance of these poles, as well as the financing repayment and the terms that are associated there. Also built into the tools, what we've kind of donned the relamp reserve, which is really a reallocation of a small portion of that cost savings over time to ensure that if the streetlight is knocked down, it is replaced immediately with no negative impact on your general fund. So really squirreling away a little bit of money so that at the end, over the next few years, you can replace those poles if they get knocked down, or you can retrofit to the next greatest LED or energy efficient technology. I do want to mention that on January 27th, we hosted the Regional Streetlight Program's Lighting Design Kickoff Meeting at the City of Temecula, Conference Center. During this technical workshop, we discussed the design and engineering strategy, how to maximize community benefits and participation. Understanding that each community has unique community-specific lighting needs, WRCOG and the consultant team will be creating lighting standards that are regionally useful and community-specific. We've also invited a representative from Mount Palomar to present on their support of our program, as well as moving forward and ensuring that we do our best job mitigating the light pollution moving forward with this program. So some of the next steps, we'll be releasing in the next month open market solicitation to identify all the financing options that are out there. We're also, WRCOG staff is also recommending that if your jurisdiction is looking into streetlight acquisition, that all new developments be conditioned to donate those poles to the city and not to Edison. This will mitigate and lessen future acquisition costs. Staff will also be working with your jurisdictional staff, sitting down, really going through the minutia and really assessing the feasibility once all of these variables are accounted for. We've begun going out to a lot of the cities, and we'll continue doing that to keep everyone well informed. As mentioned on the previous slide, as part of the regional streetlight program, the lighting design standards will be developed and can be customized to each individual jurisdiction to account for those community-specific needs. As part of this task of work, WRCOG's consultant team will also be identifying and implementing a sub-regional test bed so that our board, jurisdictional city staff, and community stakeholders can visit this site and really compare some of these energy-efficient technologies side by side. And we'll be taking that input into consideration as we develop this program. Over the past few months, WRCOG staff has been requested to provide informational presentations at your city councils. I believe we've done about 2, City of Wildomar and Hemet right now, but we're more than willing to come out to your city and provide additional presentations on this program. And this slide shows just a snapshot of the acquisition and retrofit timeline. So during the first half of 2016, WRCOG will support our jurisdictional members, assess the feasibility of acquiring and retrofitting its SCE streetlights. After it's deemed feasible, we work with SCE to develop the proper paperwork and submit to the California Public Utilities Commission. Simultaneous to the CPUC's review and approval of this documentation, we'll be developing that LED test bed that we're talking about, bringing in a lot of the community input that we received from that. That'll be live for quite a few months. You see there on the later half of 2016. But by as early as 2017, streetlight acquisition, energy efficient retrofit, and ongoing operations and maintenance that can occur. And with that, that concludes my presentation. I believe it's a requested action received and filed, but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions on our regional streetlight program? Yes, sir.
Although I have no personal information on this, I do read the paper and I do talk to people. Southern California Edison, it seems to me, is in some disarray because of the solar projects that have gone on in most of our cities. They've decided to try to go to the state and get more money, and in other states they've put programs that deter people from putting solar programs. They've also laid off people on their staff and privately said that it in part had to do with lack of income and other issues. Why are they letting us do this, and why are they not, why wouldn't they raise that bill so much so that, the expense so much that we would not do it?
Southern California Edison is not bound by the CPUC to allow us to do this. However, they did bring on this policy to open discussion with jurisdictions on streetlight acquisition and ownership. I think this began about 2 or 3 years ago. So as this program began developing, we wanted to ensure that all of our sub-region, all of our jurisdictions were included in this program. So that we were able to get all interested jurisdictions in the queue, so to speak. But since August of 2015, they have shut down the ability for new jurisdictions to enter into the streetlight acquisition discussions.
Did I hear you say that all of us will not be able to participate in this in the foreseeable future?
Our subregion is included in the discussions currently. As of August, any new jurisdictions outside of our subregion that haven't started the discussions with Southern California Edison will not be able to participate.
And how is the cost determined? Why wouldn't they come up with $22 billion?
The cost is determined for streetlights based upon a number of variables, given the pole height, the pole type, the material it's made out of, if it's wood and Marblite, steel, etc. That is what Edison uses to generate that valuation price, that estimated sales price. Does that answer your question?
Yep. Any further questions? Tyler was also an intern here too, right? You do a good job with interns. Throw it out there. Are they? Yeah. Anyway, okay. Thank you, Tyler. All right. Next, we have a report from our WRCOG Technical Advisory Committee Chair. Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing today.
I just said he was the greatest city manager in the county. He's got nothing.
Took great notes.
Okay. Number 9, report from our committee representatives. SCAG Policy Committee. Anyone? Any reports? Danny, go ahead.
Just to share that there was an economic summit instead of actually having policy committees for SCAG, and all the information is available on their website. The keynotes, I think, had to do with the disparity in incomes between Northern California and Southern California because of education levels, so there will be more coming as they continue to work on the RTP, but all the information is available on their website.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Ben.
Sure. At AQMD, we're continuing to work on, just like the SCAG has their RTP, we have our 4-year plan that we have to also submit to the federal government. Finalized this last month were 10 white papers that AQMD put out on all the various pieces of the plan. And we're actually formulating, and staff's been working on the plan. We were hoping to actually see a draft of the plan, I believe, last month. That did not happen. There's been a lot going on at AQMD with other policy issues coming up, as well as a little gas company issue, small release of gas that everyone I'm sure is well aware of, that a lot of our staff has been dedicated to. Regarding that, since there is an ongoing release of something into the air from the gas company, AQMD has set policies, and when you create a mess, you have to pay for it. And they have initiated a lawsuit against the gas company. And so that process just started last week, and you'll probably see that in the newspaper over the next few weeks. But basically, it's some similar lawsuits that they've had with Exide and other large polluters, and we'll see how it goes. That's it.
Thank you. I attended the January 14th Board of Directors meeting for WRCOG. A couple things that they talked about, a lot of federal updates. One of the updates was on the FAST Act, which is Fixing America's Surface Transportation, and which $305 billion was reauthorized. This is a 5-year program. It basically is up from $226 million. They found $75 billion that they took from the general fund out of the strategic reserve. So that's a good thing. A couple other things that they did up there, they adopted their advocacy principles, and basically they're working for us, or hope to be working for us. You know, they cover everything from regional governance, transportation, planning, programming, transportation financing, transportation programs, infrastructure, housing, and economic development. So they have a lot on their plate up there, and they're covering a lot of items, and their next meeting is in March. Okay. Next, report from the Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be very brief. First, I wanted to introduce our new program manager with our financing department, Andrew Ruiz. Andy, you want to stand up? Andrew comes to us from Loma Linda Hospital. So we're real fortunate to have him on board, and he can help with our fiscal operations. Secondly, you recall that the Executive Committee in November approved the administrative transition of the RCHCA, the Riverside County Habitat Conservation Agency, to WRCOG, and as part of that, also encompassed a physical transition of staff. Princess Hester with RCHCA is here. She made the move safely and is still in one piece last week. Also, so we have space for Princess, who is with us full-time, Brian Shomo, who is out in the field. Much of the time, he also has space in our office. There are 2 other RCHCA staff who are primarily in the field at all times, and they have a remote office. So we're thrilled that that transition has gone smoothly. We're going to be having a staff field trip to visit some of the RCHCA lands. In fact, if any of the Executive Committee wants to join us, we'd be happy to accommodate you. We think that'd be really great to create. And then lastly, speaking of interns, I wanted to introduce Annie Lee. Annie Lee comes to us from UCR School of Public Policy, and she's just started with us, so she has certainly some things to aspire to, and taking a look at the work that Jennifer and Tyler have done, but we're thrilled to have her on board as well. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any items for future agendas?
I'd like to hear a little more about what the county is doing regarding homelessness. My understanding is most of the state monies go to the county, and it would be good to hear what the county is doing, because I know each city is dealing with the problem, but how does that correlate with the county's efforts?
Okay. Can I dovetail on that for a second? I know the City of Indio has been working really hard on a new program, and I know Mike Hester was talking about it. Perhaps while staff was looking at this, we asked if Mike would send someone down to talk about that program in Indio and see how that's going. And it might be something we might want to replicate out on this side of the county.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other future items? Any general announcements? Well, I have a couple real fast. Last Friday, I attended Thursday, I attended Riverside's State of the City. So I want to congratulate the mayor. There's a lot of great stuff going on in the city of Riverside, and so it was really exciting to hear what you guys are doing. So, and thank you for allowing me to attend. And this last Saturday, Lake Elsinore kicked off our Healthy LE program. As you know, WRCOG's been working with the Public Health Department, developing sustainability framework and some other stuff. And so we had some cities that have already taken the lead: Riverside, Paris, Europa. And so we've joined that group. So we're waiting on the rest of you to join us and adopt healthy resolutions and get your cities active. So we did that this Saturday. So thank you to WRCOG for all your work in that. Hey, it's all about push-ups, guys. It's all about push-ups. Okay. And closed session. We have closed session on our report, but...
Yeah, we have 2 closed session items on the agenda, but those were catch-all items, and we're not going to need to discuss those today.
Did I hear ooh? Okay, with that, meeting's adjourned. Hey. Thank you.
So we're done.